what is the thing that I always get annoyed by? What do they call it? It's when
virtue signaling.
Virtue signaling and stuff like that. Yeah. Like,
yeah, we can talk about all of that today. That'd be just fine. Yeah. Well, it's the virtue signaling thing that can use a fair bit of unpacking because there's a real technical reason that occurs, and it poses a continual threat to the integrity of society at large. It's narcissists and Machiavellian psychopaths, they call that the dark triad. Those people are very, very good at sending up camouflage that makes them look like they're useful and productive.
Right.
And that's actually their strategy. You see that a lot with these guys that are like women's rights advocates and that go to the protests that where women often predominate. It's like, oh yeah, you're here on the women's side, are you? Uh-huh. I know what sort of character you are.
What sort of character is that, though? That is a good question.
Predator.
Right.
Like a real predator. It's like, oh, I'm on your side, and maybe you'll climb into bed with me.
Yeah. It's very difficult to call that out in a sense, though, isn't it? Because I don't know.
They're the white knight in shining armor in that instance.
Right.
If you're, because you had an attack video done on you in a similar sense. So what is that? Well, why do you think people do that?
To elevate themselves falsely in the status hierarchy so that they're more attractive to women, but also so that they have a position among men that they don't deserve. Instead of earning it, they just fake it. It's all manipulation, and they call it, the people who are good at that are part of the dark triad of personality traits: Machiavellian, psychopathic, and narcissistic. And so it's a form of camouflage fakery. So it's like a guy who will dress above his stature economically. Now that's a much less toxic example of it because that can be aspirational too, right? He's trying to look better so he can clue in. But the pickup artist types, for example, they tell their advocates to peacock, to dress above their status level. And the reason they do that is because then they can signal competence that they don't have, right? Because your style of dress is a marker of your social status. And there's, for men and for women, there's lots of different ways of doing that because it depends on which hierarchy you want to be placed properly in. But you signal with your dress your status. And so then you can falsely signal. And you do that so that people are more impressed with you than you deserve. And so it's a cheap way to gain reputation. And there isn't anything more important to people than reputation. And so really that virtue signaling is false reputation signaling. And it's a form of deception. It's a deep form of deception. And social media enables it like mad.
Because the masses are stupid, in my opinion, a lot of the time, and they just fall for it. They don't say...
It's a funny thing. It's because it is a kind of willful blindness, and sometimes it's a kind of ignorance. But once you have a society that's basically based on trust, and our societies are basically based on trust, then people can exploit that trust, right? They can act as if they're trustworthy agents, honest agents, and gain the access and opportunities that you could gain reasonably if you were honest, but you can do it in a completely deceptive way. And I really do think the social media networks in particular have massively expanded that problem, because you as a narcissistic and predatory outsider, your voice can be magnified like mad. All this trolling behavior on social media, comment sections in particular, it's so pathological. It's like, well, you know what it's like, and you guys have experienced this.
Absolutely.
People will say things in the comment section on YouTube that would absolutely 100% get them punched instantly if they ever said it to your face.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean, that's I'm
pretty good at that.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting, because if they were face to face with you, they wouldn't dare utter a word like that. But as soon as you put people, especially people who can't control themselves and who are resentful, as soon as you put them behind a wall in some sense, they can say whatever they want to whoever they want and get away with it.
I think I've been targeted a little bit more because of kind of how big guy, all of that stuff. I think people get a bit of a thrill out of almost like
poking the beast.
Of course they do.
Yeah, like shouting at the lion through the cage a little bit, like it. And
especially,
I think that's made me more of a target without a doubt in the last sort of few years.
Yeah. They do the same thing to Dan Crenshaw. He's a congressman in Washington. He's a tough guy. He was in Afghanistan. He lost an eye in combat. Dan's a tough guy. He was a Navy SEAL. And the trolls come after him like mad. It's like, oh, there's a war hero. Poke, poke, poke. It's like, poke him in person and see what the hell happens. But no, it's really
very
not
bitchy
good.
sort of way of living your life, isn't it?
It's so sad.
I guess
I don't presume we're on, are we?
No, we are. Yeah,
we are.
So sorry. Yeah,
It's all good.
no, it's good. If you want anything cut out, then you're more than welcome to.
No, that's fine.